It was 4:30 on a hot afternoon. One phone call, one request that pushed a hardworking technician past his breaking point, and a frustrated outburst turned into a leadership wake-up call that changed everything. That's coming up on the next Bad Boss Confessional. Hi, I'm Beth Fahey, and this is Bad Boss Confessional, where real leaders get honest about the mistakes that made them better. Before we dive in, a quick thank you to our sponsors for making this show possible.
Do you love running on EOS? Try Stredi, the EOS platform people love. Native integrations and extra features help you manage people, projects, process, and engagement. Connected to your favorite EOS tools and all in one place. You love EOS. It's time to love the platform you're running it on. Try Stredi free at stredi.com. That's STRETY.com. Stredi, the EOS platform people love. Let's be honest, hiring the right people is hard. That's why I love Titus Talent Strategies. Their whole person hiring approach helps you find and keep A players who align with your values, and they back it with an industry-leading guarantee. Best part? Titus Talent Strategies is included in the Entrepreneurial Toolkit for companies running on EOS. Check them out at titustalent.com/EOS.
My guest today is president of North Star Refrigeration, where he leads a growing team delivering commercial and industrial HVAC and refrigeration solutions across New England. He's built a company culture grounded in accountability, camaraderie, and long-term partnerships that span generations with North Star's customers, employees, and vendors. Welcome to Bad Boss Confessional, Travis Townsend.
Thank you, Beth. Appreciate being here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So, this must be a really busy time of year for you.
Yes. So starting, May, we're a HVAC and refrigeration company, about 65% construction, 35% service, and we'd like to even spin that a little closer to 40 in service. And the service this time of year really gets busy, which is exciting for our technicians and our company because everybody makes more money when they're working more.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me, how did you land in the world of HVAC and refrigeration? Was that your first job or did you do something before that?
No, it's so I had kids really young. My wife and I had two children. Uh I was 20, she was actually 19. And I was still a teenager, so I was landscaping locally. And my father had been in the business. He was a service manager of a union company, and being in this field is a lot more lucrative than being a landscaper. So I saw an opportunity, and I had a young family, so I actually got in the field into the union. My father actually exited that company, and I spent about 20 years repairing refrigeration systems. And I would have probably retired and never had the opportunity to be a bad boss, if it wasn't for some private equity was coming into the company I was in. There was a lot of changes. I was working about 80 hours a week, and I had a lot of, my grandmother, who I was really close to, was passing away. I didn't have time. I wasn't spending time with her. And I just had had enough. My father had talked about me opening up a union company, branching off from his company. And there was a moment I did a presentation um, about this, that I'm nervous about it and about being an entrepreneur. And my father said to me, "Well, Travis, you're talented. The worst case scenario, you just live in a studio apartment and start over." So it kind of struck me that, like, yeah, so worst case scenario, I'll still make money and I start over. So that was 2014. when I made that decision, and it's a long story from there that we can get into. But I came in with really no. Thank God my father had some people in the office that understood financial pieces, because I bought a used van with roll down windows and started working 100 hours a week. So
Hmm. Yep. And that's how it starts. I think that's always the mark of a true entrepreneur, is that it really doesn't matter. Like you can,
you don't
start
even
with
know you're on
nothing.
the journey when you're on the journey. It takes you 5 years to even understand that you are an entrepreneur.
That's right. And I remember that imposter syndrome too. At the beginning, I bought a bakery and I didn't know anything. I'm like, I like to eat cookies. I don't know anything about a bakery. And my sister had worked at one. And I said to my best friend back in California before we moved, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I think I'm crazy. My whole family, we're moving back to Chicago. And she's like, Beth, dumber people than you have figured out how to run businesses. And I thought, you know, okay, I'll take that. Well, so you learned on the job, as most entrepreneurs do. And, this podcast, of course, is about leadership and management lessons that we learned. And so I'm just curious if you have a confession or a story that you'd like to share with our listeners.
Yeah, so I had, it's I've had a lot of bad boss moments those first probably 8 to 10 years, as you get into peer groups and you start talking. EOS helps a lot, obviously, getting you to even understand. But there was one moment, probably about 3 to 5 years in, that back to just working hard those first several years building the company. When you're a growing entrepreneur, I think one of the biggest fears you have is being slow, like, because you really care about the people you work with. So I always kept a lean team, because I was like, we they got to feed their families, all of that. So my goal was to just as many hours as we can, and until people start to break, that's when you hire people. Well, one of the moments that somebody somewhat broke, I had a friend of mine who I worked with that ended up coming on board a couple years into the company. And middle of the summer, back to what we talked about, it's our busy time of year. Um, I I just would pick up the phone and ask, like, we're going here, without any thought of people have families and this and that. We just kept going. And I called this technician, Josh Hill, who was still a good friend of mine, and at about 4:30, 5 o'clock on, whatever day it was, but he he answers the phone. I said, "Hey, Josh, can you go to Boston right now to this customer?" Who, back to being a bad boss, we had some really bad customers when we were uh, small too, so it was kind of a bad customer too. But so Josh just picks up the phone and I'll do whatever you effing want. He starts screaming at me. I've been here all day doing this. I set this thing up myself. I'm just going to leave and you tell me where to go, Travis. And curses me out for, I don't know, 5 minutes. And I'm like just sitting there listening. I'm like, this is a friend of mine. And I immediately apologized, and I said to him, like, listen, I'm going to hire some people. I'm going to get this. We're not going to continue to work like this. And I'd say, that bad boss moment was just that I was asking so much of our team, not even realizing what I was asking. And the lesson out of that, just now, well, I have to hire people. I have to get over my fear of, like, not getting work. We have too much work. That's going to sounds like it's going to continue. We need talented people, and it can't just be Travis and the lead technician working 80 to 100 hours a week. So I'd say it was one of the many pivotal moments in my career where it was like, well, I have to support these people, and they're not. As a growing entrepreneur, you just work, and you don't and you think everybody's wired like you too. You don't understand at this moment that everybody doesn't have the same passion as you. It took me 5 years to probably understand that. So, like, I think everybody's wired like me. Everybody's going to work 100 hours a week, and everybody's going to enjoy that. And at that moment, it was like, wait a second, wait, I'm asking too much of these human beings.
Yeah, my sister and I ran a bakery, and there were times of the year where it was just a lot. And you had to get the orders done. There was like somebody's going to show up for their cake tomorrow morning. You've got to get their cake done. And so sometimes you were just working really long hours. And at one point I said, she was just really frustrated. And I said, Becky, if everybody could do it, everybody would do it. And, the kind of people that are entrepreneurs, we're the ones that leave last. We're going to stick around. We're going to take those awful deliveries on the weekend so that our staff doesn't have to. And, your team sees it. They see that you're working hard too, but then they're also getting frustrated. So, what was his name? Josh?
Josh
Is
Hill,
that
yes.
Yeah, Josh. So Josh, I mean, blowing up at you, it had probably been building for a while with him. And, because people don't blow up like that overnight. That doesn't just happen, right? And so it's good that he was open and honest with you and told you. But I got to tell you, I've seen many times teams where, like the integrator or the ops person is just sucking it up and just sucking it up and just not saying anything, not saying anything. And I think, the tools like the accountability chart are so helpful for helping us see our capacity issues. So clearly you figured it out, right? That you needed to add more people. How many people do you have now?
We're over
Did you?
100 now.
Yeah.
So we were probably 6 at the time. And yeah, back to EOS, the accountability chart, really like at that moment, I don't know what a visionary and integrator is. The moment where I kind of learned that people, my integrator, once that became a thing, we'll go backwards after this, but he said to me, Travis, nobody's ever going to care as much as you. You just have to
Hmm.
understand that, because why don't they care as much? Why can't they?
Hmm.
It's and
Hmm.
you're almost bitching about it when you don't understand it.
Yeah.
Once you have that awakening, once you get an integrator who can, because as a visionary with EOS, I like, I, I had a previous employee say, "Well, Travis, you don't live in reality," and I think that's a good thing at times for a visionary. But without an integrator, when you don't have the filter of the integrator, that's when those wheels come off.
Yeah. The integrator's filter is so key for so many visionaries. I just had Mark Winters on the podcast, and he wrote Rocket Fuel and he wrote the book Visionary.
Hold on,
And
ready?
he,
Look at this. I'll give him a plug. I have it right here.
oh, see,
It's
I'm
my next
telling you,
up a book.
well, you'll love it. And he's got a lot of tools in there that are helpful for visionaries because, you feel like, and I remember feeling this way because I was a visionary as well. It's like if you don't do it, the wheels are going to come off. Like the whole company is just going to go straight into a ditch. And, uh, and that's a really hard thing to let go of because, your name is on the line. You're probably on the line of credit, all the loans, and so every hire at the beginning is you're filled with fear because of what you said. Like, well, what if we don't get the business? Or what if things dry up? Or what if we have another pandemic? Or, the list goes on. But at some point, you realize that you're adaptable,
Yeah,
right?
it'll be funny sharing this in the podcast to my team, but I have an alter ego that I speak with sometimes called Scared Travis. And literally, that fear as a business leader is healthy if you can understand and get it down, because the stuff that you can't disconnect, if you have that fear, the undone things, the stuff that you don't like, why, what are you doing here? Again, I think that it can be great for the business because, like you said, there's not a truer burn the boats mentality than when you're on the credit line. You're again all 100% right. We have no private equity behind us. It's all the burden of everything. So there's a clarity in that. If you can get the clarity, like you have no options. There's no other, nothing else you can do. So the balance of that, though, if you lean into the scared Travis, you just work 100 hours a week because you have to get every fear out of your head and make sure nothing's falling apart. But if you can get the fundamental and understanding of those things and talk to your integrator, talk to your leadership team, coach them out of those things, that's how you elevate from, you know, getting screamed at by Josh Hill to having a 100-person company.
Wow. It's a journey, right? It's a journey to learning ourselves. It's a journey, building these businesses. Um, yeah. So from your perspective, I mean, what are, now that you've got some road behind you and you're looking ahead, does this type of thing ever creep back into your life, like as far as pushing people to the limits? And if it does, how do you stop that from happening? Like, what are the tools that you use?
If you look at my PI profile, like my gut feel is really far left. I got a really wide span. So I would say my gut, I've seen enough of it now where you see it coming, where you can talk to people and maybe coach them through those things. Listen, let them get the burden off of their chest. And then how can we as a team figure out how, is it process? Again, EOS gives you these tools. Process, people, communication. What is it? Did the person hit their ceiling? We've seen that happen several times in this growth cycle. We don't want to burn them out, and talking to them about that is a key. Capacity and the people tools, and having a quarterly conversation with EOS. Make it, people can, it's the one that you can be a minus in capacity, but you don't need to go into that strike program because, again, I'll take our previous integrator. Me as the visionary, I just kind of thought the integrator at the beginning was, I just take my shit and pass it to the integrator and they just do all the shit. Well, we didn't know how that relationship works. So he's just taking the shit, not getting some of it done. I'm getting pissed off because it's not getting done because I expect everything to be done in a day. And, here we are, just EOS helps with that, but I think experience, you have to get in the weeds and you got to just see it happen to actually understand it's happening. Like those tools are great and everything, but if you don't see somebody crying in your office, if you don't see somebody screaming and yelling at you, if you don't see those things happen in front of you, you can't learn those lessons.
Yeah, and I think what you're talking about there is issues, right? Really calling out what the real issue is. And what a lot of people do is they just kind of stuff it, and a good Catholic girl like me, we learn really early, like to just kind of, nope, everything's fine. We're good. We're good. We'll just keep working. We'll keep working. And then you end up with a culture where everyone is a martyr, you know?
And
And
yeah, yeah, just one note on that, like, just that where I see it show up too is I still have that pace setter mentality, which can be toxic at times because then they start chasing you and
yeah,
they think you're indestructible and they try to, I'm the owner, I'm the boss. They try to chase that, and now all of a sudden it's like, I just can't do it.
yeah,
And they get dejected. Like it's, you got to show them that you'll take a vacation. You got to show them that they'll go and see their kids go to dance or go to the
hmm,
football game. If you just sit here in this office for 12, which I've done many, many times, and I still do, and I try to realize it, it takes me a
hmm,
little time. But if you're sitting there and that truck is the first there and the last one to go every day, they're just going to chase you and say this person's indestructible, and just they'll never,
yeah,
I'll never live up to their expectations.
exactly. That's right. So currently now you've got 100 people on staff. What's next for you? Like where do you want to take your business?
Are like the entire, every business, private equity is becoming such a huge part of Baker, whatever it is. There's a lot of money that's being thrown into companies and businesses. So our next journey will be, there's some great private equity folks out there too. So I don't want to be negative, but with that being said, the owner operated mentality, that local hardware store that gets you to the nuts and bolts you want and
Hmm.
everything, um, the stuff that I've seen, with private equity, you lose that more often than not.
Hmm.
So my vision for the company is, one, we've operated on this roller coaster, and our goal for 2026 is really lean into process, get to the finish line with EOS, graduate EOS, and have everybody in L10, which we will get to this year. We feel we got the right leadership team for that. So these next 3 years will be all about just getting things repeatable. We've always been this roller
Hmm.
coaster. We've done things that companies 5 times our size haven't and wouldn't do. With that being
Mm.
said, they're not repeatable because it burns the people out. Back to the Josh
Ah.
Hill, he was part of that journey. So, why? How did we do that great? How can we do it better? And how can we make it repeatable without that burnout? We're in a
Hmm.
demanding business, so really structure, process, and getting those things incorporated, but keeping your identity, not being the corporate company, still being us, but having
Hmm.
that structure and process.
Hmm.
We're going to roll out and be an employee owned company in the next 3 years. Um, and really, the vision with that is just in this private equity world, being that employee owned company that is still that same family slash owner operated mentality in a private equity world. Like I kind of want like fists on a t-shirt saying fight the power. Like, that's kind of, that might be a little much, but that's where, like, this team that we've built has done so many great things, like taking this North Star product and making it this consistent machine that hits their numbers
Hmm.
and kind of puts a stamp on our industry and changes the way we're doing things.
Yeah, so that's amazing. I mean, your culture sounds like it's really important to you.
Yes, it is, but I would say that I've put my foot in the mud with that by, there's a Steve Jobs uh, kind of comment you can look up about Apple growing and hiring managers. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but in essence, what Steve Jobs says. So we're a growing company at Apple, and we think that we need professional managers. And Steve Jobs says, so we hire all these professional managers, and they could manage, but they were all bozos. They couldn't do they couldn't do anything, is what he said.
Mm.
The people that know they can do it better but don't want to do it are the people that will change it. And that's where, like, our organization has built these people, um, and we hired those outside people, which we still have some great outside people, but we were growing at 50% per year, and we don't
Mm.
really have all the buttoned up, business understanding. So, you bring this person in with this title, it's like, wow, they're great. They seem like good people, and it's a disaster. So
Mm.
we paid a penalty in 24, early 20, probably 2024, early 25. That realization hit us that just like we had got away from that a little bit. But we had grown from a 9 million company to a $27 million company in 4 years. So like
Mhm.
it was just 9 to 12, 12 to 19, 19 to 27. You hitting
That's a lot.
ceilings, trying, yeah. So um, the culture this past year has really started to come together back to where we were when we were a small company, and it was like a band of brothers type mentality, brothers and sisters mentality,
Mhm.
where like we just had each other's back. But that was back when we were working so hard and just everybody was leaning in. It wasn't
Mhm.
feasible to have 100 people working like we were when we were that really tight. Back to keeping that same mentality, but not overworking people and having process and structure is kind of the goal of the
Yeah.
future of the company.
And how long have you been running on EOS?
Oh, I think this is our fourth year actually. So we flipped
Yeah.
the leadership team though 3 times. The only person
Happens.
left, yeah, the only person left is me and the integrator, and the integrator and I actually had to split last year, and we brought in a fractional integrator. because there was a couple positions that were so screwed up. He actually self-demoted and brought somebody else in to go fix some of the company. Like it was, we were bleeding. We actually went on from Alex Freitag. We tried it. We stole one of his ideas, and we go on a clarity trip. We took a 21-mile hike that time in one day. I think my integrator got hypothermia that day, but we actually made this decision like on a trail at night, like kind of crazy. So, but he stepped down. We had to separate, and so he's the only one. He's coming back to the integrator position actually next month. Um, so he's the only one that has remained throughout the craziness. So,
And have you replaced those functional leaders then that he was
yes,
kind of
everybody. Yep,
band-aiding?
yep,
Wow.
yep,
So now you've got a team, you've got leaders, you feel good about them. They're more tuned in to what you do. It sounds
yep,
like that
yes.
you've and would you say that that's the key to your next 50% growth if that's what you want?
Yeah, we're actually we're focusing on growth in net profit. So yes, we want 50% growth in net, not revenue. So that's the goal now as we grow up in this business world. But yes, it is. It's all about that leadership team. I said recently, like for the first time in my career, I'm at peace with the leadership team. Like I feel good about it. Like I feel like it's there. We all have we all have holes, and the more vulnerable we get with each other, the better those. And we just understand what those holes are, the better we'll get. But yeah, I do think the leadership team is the key. And also in this journey, if you're going to do EOS, if we're talking EOS, we've had people that like are complaining about the cost of the implementer in the quarterly, like and saying, should we do this? You're either drinking the Kool-Aid or you're not. Like you're all in or you're all out. And if you have a leadership member that doesn't want to do EOS, then you're either not going to do EOS or you got to remove the leader. There's no half measure taken there. It's got to be that hell yes. And we've had a couple of those.
Yeah, we wrote about this in the book Rollout. I'll do
Oh,
my
I
own
have that one
shameless.
too. I have like 8 of them somewhere. I actually had
Yeah,
that's your book, right? Yeah.
that's right.
Yes, I have.
So
I wish I had them here. So,
we have we talk about this at the end of the book. There's an appendix where we cover when EOS isn't working. And one of the top issues is when you have a leader that is not on board with EOS. It's like they're a boat anchor. They just can't, the whole company kind of stalls because of this person. And I've seen that as an implementer so many times. So it's great that you realize that. And, really sounds like went through a lot of pain to get on the other side and to have a full leadership team because,
let me shout out our implementer here, Lisa Manning, on this because Lisa was great in this moment. She's awesome, and Lisa said like, "I'll leave right now. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. That's okay. It's your business. But I'll leave right now if that's the conversation we want to have." I mean, it was great. Like,
yep.
Lisa and I like will almost argue at times. It's funny. But she was great in that moment, and it was true. Like again, we're sitting in this room, we're paying the night, we've been agreeing to do this, and I'm all in on it. Our integrators all in it. Everybody, and you got this person who is kind of spouting off. Should we spend the 9 grand on it, and do we really want to do this in a quarterly? Like, what are we doing at that point? So Lisa was great in that moment.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, if you want to go faster, use an implementer. That's what we say. I mean, I know that sounds self serving, but it's
Oh,
true.
well, I'll give you we actually rolled out EOS on our own for a year, and I was pissed. So if you talk to Lisa, if you know Lisa, she brings this up to me all the time. The first day of the first annual we did, she says, "Where's your head at?" And I said, like, pissed or frustrated. And and she's like, "Oh, she does the whole, kind of talk about why. I, I did this for a year and wasted a year of my life. Why did EOS not spout from the mountaintops about these implementers? Like I was we had core value. We did the whole thing on our own, and we're sitting in a room just talking about core values, not knowing about the people that you're supposed to do it and everything. Rolled it out to the company. We did our own state of the company, rolling out these crazy core values, and then just flush that down the toilet and start over. That's what we did. So use an implementer. Use an implementer. Do not even try it. I've had people talk to me about it. It's the stupidest thing you can do.
Well, I feel like I should give you $100, Travis.
Sure. Yeah, I'll take it.
That's amazing. All right. Well, what a great endorsement. So, Travis, I have one last question for you. If you were to get a tattoo somewhere on your body that was either emblematic of this story or maybe it's something that's actually more meaningful to you, what would your tattoo be and where would it be located?
So I hadn't gotten a tattoo for like 20 something years, and I just got one of skiing recently. But if I had to get one of this story and the journey, it's probably back to like burn the boats. It's probably somebody like militaristic standing on a shore, ready to charge a beachhead with boats burning in the background, maybe some rain, a good chin, like just sitting there like gritting into a storm and saying "F you, I'm gonna take it." So with some people ready to do some harm behind you. So I'd say that's the journey. Now I released at a state of the company that we have to stop. Like what we've been doing in the past is like we take the hill, but there's bodies that fall down along the way. So we have to change that mentality. But up until now, that is without a doubt what the tattoo would be. So I would love to get like ChatGPT to make that tattoo. I'll try to get that to you. You could put that on the emblem for our podcast. I'm going to try to take that to do.
I'll replace your headshot.
Yes, exactly. It'd be way cooler than my head.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for the time today, Travis. I think everyone learned something. And I really appreciate you sharing and being vulnerable to share your story. So,
Thank you. That was fun. First podcast. So thanks for having me, Beth. And I think it will be very interesting sharing this with the team too. It'll be fun sharing it with the North Star folks and Lisa. I think Lisa will get a kick out of this.
thanks to Travis Townsend for reminding us that you can't hire your way out of a staffing problem by working your people harder. You have to build the organization they deserve to work in. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and share with friends who need to hear this. Thanks for listening to Bad Boss Confessional. We'll see you next week.